Now Cyclops, wheezing as the pain came on him, fumbled to wrench away the great doorstone and squatted in the breach with arms thrown wide for any silly beast or man who bolted, hoping somehow I might be such a fool. But I kept thinking how to win the game. Death sat there huge. How could we slip away? I drew on all my wits and ran through tactics, reasoning like a man will for dear life, until a trick came and it pleased me well. The Cyclops rams were handsome, fat, with heavy fleeces of dark violet. Three abreast, I tied them silently together, twining cords of willow from the ogre's bed. Then slung a man under each middle one to ride there safely, shielded left and right, so three sheep could convey each man. I took the woolliest ram, the choicest of the flock, and hung myself under his kinky belly, pulled up tight with fingers twisted deep in sheepskin ringlets for an iron grip. So, breathing hard, we waited until morning. So he ties three of these sheep together, and then he straps one of his men underneath the three. And his plan is for the sheep to leave the cave and the Cyclops not notice that they're under there. When dawn spread out her fingertips of rose, the rams began to stir, moving for pasture. The peals of bleating echoed round the pens where dams and udders full called for a milking. Blinded and sick with pain from his head wound, the master stroked each ram and let it pass. But my men, riding on the pectoral fleece, the giant's blind hands blundering, never found. Last of them all, my ram, the leader, came, weighted by wool, and me with my meditations. The Cyclops patted him and then said, "Sweet cousin Ram, why lag behind the rest in the night cave? You never linger so, but graze before them all, and go afar to crop sweet grass, and take your stately way, leading along the streams, until at evening you run to be the first one in the fold. Why now so far behind? Can you be grieving over your master's eye? That carrion rogue and his accursed companions burnt it out, when he had conquered all my wits with wine. Nobody will not get out alive, I swear. Oh, had you brain and voice to tell where he may be now, dodging all my fury. Bashed by this hand and bashed on this rock wall, his brains would strew on the floor, and I should have rest from the outrage nobody worked upon me." He sent us into the open then. Close by, I dropped and rolled clear of the ram's belly, going this way and that to untie the men. With many glances back, we rounded up his fat, stiff-legged sheep to take aboard, and drove them down to where the good ship lay. We saw, as we came near, our fellows' faces shining. Then we saw them turn to grief, tallying those who had not fled from death. I hushed them, jerking head and eyebrows up, and in a low voice told them, "Load this herd, move fast, and put the ship's head toward the breakers." They all pitched in at loading, then embarked, and struck their oars into the sea. Far out, as far off as shouted words could carry, I sent a few back to the adversary. So now he can't just leave quietly, guys. He has to yell something back at the Cyclops and antagonize him. "Oh, Cyclops, would you feast on my companions? Puny am I in a caveman's hand? How'd you like the beating that we gave you, you damned cannibal? Eater of guests under your roof, Zeus and the gods have paid you." The blind thing in his doubled fury broke a hilltop in his hands and heaved it after us. Ahead of our black prow, it struck and sank, whelmed in a spuming geyser, a giant wave that washed the ship's stern foremost back to the shore. I got the longest boat hook out and stood fending us off, with furious nods to all to put their backs to a racing stroke. Row, row or perish. So the long oars bent, kicking the foam sternward, making head until we drew away, and twice as far. Now, when I cupped my hands, I heard the crew in low voices protesting. "God's sake, Captain, why bait the beast again? Let him alone. That tidal wave he made on the first throw all but beached us, all but stove us in. Give him our bearing with your trumpeting. He'll get the range and lob a boulder. Aye, he'll smash our timbers and our heads together." So his men are telling him to be quiet and let's go.